From Anshe Sfard Beth El Emeth Congregation, it's time to take 10 minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.
Welcome to our discussion, Parshat Noach, too big, too small. A rabbi in Otniel, a yeshiva in Israel, pointed out something very interesting. He said that if you look at the commentary of Rashi versus Rashbam about the Tower of Babel, you'll find the opposite. They actually are saying the opposite. What's the idea? So you have the Tower of Babel, right? People wanted to build a tower in a city. The tower would go into the heavens. All right, so it would be a tall tower. What's the problem? God came down, he saw what they were doing, and he says, no, I'm not going to let them do it. And they were mixed up and they spread out throughout the whole world. Everybody's wondering, what's wrong with building a tower in a city? I thought building a city is nice. There are a lot of nice towers in the world too. Is that a problem? So Rashi gives several interpretations based on Midrash, and one is that the people said that he says people said, why does God get to live in the heavens? We'll go up there, we'll make a war against God. So people think that they're going to make a war with God. So God says, I'll show you. You want to make a war with God? Nothing happened. The tower didn't go up. They got spread out. They couldn't work on this great project. They didn't make a skyscraper until many centuries later. Rashbam says the opposite. He says, God told the Jews, we should be fruitful and multiply. When we luat arts and fill up the land, what did they want to do? They said that we want to have one city, one tower. We don't want to spread out, because if we don't have one city, then we're not going to spread out in the whole world. And we're going to have to spread out. So we want to have one tower, and they'll have a watchman and make sure everyone stays in the city. We'll have guards. It'll be like Russia, where you can't get out. You know, you can only get in. You can't get out. And we'll keep everybody in. We'll be in one place. This Rabbi from Otniel, he says, you know what? It's the opposite. Rashi thinks that the people were trying to be too big. They thought, we're like God. We're going to fight with God. We can be on the level with God. Rashbam thinks these people are too small. They're supposed to think cosmically. They're going to fill the earth. They'll fill the universe. They'll explore Pluto. They'll try to go teletransporting to other planets and other galaxies, to go where no man has gone before. And that's what God told us to do. And they said, no, let's stay at home. You know, we live here in Mississippi. We like it. We'll stay over here. Small, Rosh Katan, that they call it in Hebrew, a small head. They didn't have any great aspirations. Stay here. We know Babylonia. We know what it's like. We'll stay over here. It'll be great. So Rashi thinks the people are trying to be too great. They think they're going to be like God. And Rashbam thinks they're thinking too small. You just want to build Babylonia. There's different continents. You haven't even explored the Americas. You haven't explored Europe and Asia and China and Australia, New Zealand. The wonderful places in this world. You just want to stay in one place. There's much more to life than just Babylonia. Your hometown, the main street, Front Street. There's a lot more to it. This idea that human beings, sometimes we think we're bigger than we are, and sometimes we think not big enough. This is a very common theme, whether it was Rav Zusha, Van Polia, whether it was Rav Yunum Rav Pshischa. Somebody said that every Jew should have two pockets, and in one pocket it should say, I am dust and dirt, as Avram Avinu said. The other pocket should say that Bishvilini V'Olam, the whole world was just created for me, right? God didn't say that you're going to make millions of people. We made Adam, and just for Adam, God made a whole world. So I'm not different from Adam, theoretically. So God made the whole world for me too. And in my own consciousness, that's the way I think, don't I? I wake up in the morning, I think, what's this Joel Finkelstein want to do this morning? What do I want for breakfast? What am I going to do with my life? What am I going to do? What am I going to contribute? That's how our brains are built. We have this God consciousness as if I am everything. And we're thinking about ourselves, self-centered. So really, we should have both. We should recognize the whole world is for me, but also I'm nothing. I'm dirt. One day I go back to dirt. So we have to have these two consciousness of how great we can be and how little we actually are in many ways as well. The Tehillim Ches, the Tehillim Psalms chapter 8 also expresses this idea when it says, on the one hand, Vatachzereu ma'am Elokim, you made the human being just a little less than God, the judge, than an angel, something very supernatural about the human being. On the other hand, it says, my noshti tizkaren. What is a human being that you should even remember? Right? My contribution to that, there was once a guy, Joel Finkelstein, lived in Memphis. I try to Google and try to see if you can find any remnants of this. Well, what am I? So on the one hand, we're so great, we're almost close to God, angel, something like that. On the other hand, we're nothing. So these two ideas coexist. Now, I'd like to suggest that not only do we say, Elu ve'elu divrei Elokim chayim, the words of Rashi are true and Rashbam is true. So then the famous question, well, how can they both be true? Well, that's also true, right? I'd like to say not only that, but not only that all Torah ideas are true. It's true. All debates have truth to them. But here, actually, both are true simultaneously. What was going on here? A lot of many commentators say that, especially 19th century commentators, claim that what's going on in the Tower of Babel is totalitarianism. We're about to have someone who, they're going to be a tower, and it could be the palace. Rav Maidan says there's going to be one big palace for the great leader, and he'll go in the clouds, and like Wizard of Oz, he'll speak from the clouds, I am Oz, and I command that everyone has to give me taxes. And everybody would look up to him in the clouds. Great Oz has told us this. And they would obey him. So the Migdal Bavel, in Rashi's view, is an attempt to make someone like God. And that, of course, is part of totalitarianism, that somebody feigns himself to be God. He decides everything. People live, die. There's no justice. There's no law. There's no order. It's just whatever the crown prince thinks. Whatever he says goes. And what's everyone else? Nothing. Everyone else is just a cog. How many people does it take to build a Brooklyn Bridge? Well, it takes a lot of people. How many people have to die to build a Brooklyn Bridge? Look it up. Probably a lot of people. How many people does it take to build any tower? How many people died trying to build the Tower of Babel? It's a given that when you build a massive structure, some people will fall off. And what was the attitude of Migdal Bavel? Who cares? It's only one person. We've got a lot more people. I got another person where that came from. In other words, man is nothing. So I say both ideas are right in the Tower of Babel. If the Tower of Babel is this totalitarian state that was attempted to be set up, we would have one man in a watchtower making sure nobody left. And everyone would have to be subservient to him. They'd have one idea, one truth, one everything. What would happen to the average human being? They'd be nothing. So you have in this totalitarian state, both the Rashi and the Rashbam. You have the Rashbam of people being not enough. Every person is a king. Every person doesn't need to be subservient to the other guy and what he thinks, the guy in the tower, the guy in the castle. So the Rashbam is correct. And in the totalitarian state, people are not sufficiently appreciated that for them, the world was created. And what else do you have in a totalitarian state? That the king, the leader, the czar, thinks that only he matters. He's the only one who exists and who matters. Everybody else can fall off the mountains. We don't care. And he thinks he's too great. So the totalitarian state has a czar who thinks he's too great, like Rashi, and he has the masses who are treated like too little, like Rashba. We have to recognize that we have both of these capacities. We have capacity for greatness, for conquering new vistas, for thinking of new ideas, for expanding our horizons beyond where we are, to read a new book, to read Torah, to have a new idea. We have this capacity. to be just a little less than an angel. And at the same time, we have to remember that we're nothing, that we are not God. We can't compete with God. We are not the ultimate authorities. And we have to recognize that as well. If we keep these two pieces of paper in our two different pockets, if we remember the Rashbam and the Rashi and their admonition, their warning of what the Tower of Babel was all about and what we shouldn't do, then hopefully we find that balance of Psalm 8 between being so great as human being and also knowing that in some ways we're nothing. And if we can find that balance, then humanity can move forward. Each one of us can fulfill our purpose without lording over the other and without anyone thinking that they are God. Thank you for joining us here at the Anshe Sfard Beth El Congregation for our discussion of the holidays in the Parsha. And thanks to Jason Lefkowitz, our producer.
This has been 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein. To learn more, visit asb.org.